So I've been working on a big design project, and given the nature of January and everybody should be thinking about designs, I thought this might inspire and educate a little bit. So I'm going to take a few minutes and share this project. I'm going to go through what I stumbled on. A really nice home builder, just doing this giant, spec build right next to a homegrown park, Chastain Park, and here we go. I'm going to share my screen and let's see what's growing on. So this wasn't what I stumbled on. I'm in the house. Let me give you this when I walked up real quick. So this is what it looked like when I walked up on the scene. I was like, this giant house, beautiful Japanese maple. Usually a landscape architect is going to be asked to come on, to a project a little bit before this. But you know what? I'm going to take what bloom where you're potted, right? So love this Japanese maple. How am I going to save it? I see that the tree save fence is already down. This thing's in trouble, but hopefully I can highlight it into the design. And this is the backyard, looking out the backyard, beautiful trees in a nice forested area. They have the idea for a pool right here, but they really don't know what it's going to look like or how it's going to feel. And they have a little porch here, and they want to get down to another tier. How do you kind of navigate these tiers? And a very challenging site. And so they brought me on. This is looking in the backyard, looking back at the house. This is where the pool is going to go. And how do we get people sort of into the backyard and have a pool right in the middle of where usually the steps would be? So I really love this design challenge. And then I'm going to go over a lot of the plants and everything like that. So here we go. So when I come on to a design, most landscape art, most designers are going to be thinking about from down, so we can look at the spatial relationships of everything. So coming off the street, doing a really nice fence that's soft and kind of have a little curve to this driveway so that you can kind of meet what I wanted to have, that Japanese maple. You'll soon find out that the Japanese maple did have to be transplanted. Thank goodness this homeowner or the home builder took all the time and expense to basically extract this tree, get the mini excavators, wrap it all up. And instead of these 3 trees right here, which I had for magnolias, he ended up putting that tree there, saving
That's really
the tree.
cool that they did that.
Yeah,
Very cool.
for sure.
They
Love
could
a
have
good
just demoed
old
it.
Japanese maple, yeah.
Front of the house, western exposure. So really wanted to play with some hot stuff. There was a lot of shade down in this corner. Devin, I'm going to show you some pots, what I did, and maybe you can critique me there. But wanted to play with a lot of core 10 steel, a lot of fun stuff. Just kind of going through using yucca, brake light yucca, color guard yucca, doing 3 different types of kind of like a liriope. So I'll show you the plant list. So we have a liriope silver dragons, a Carex Everillo, the Evercolor, which is like the chartreuse, real bright, next to silver dragon, which is
that one.
And then Mondo grass. So you have 3 different colors of the same texture, but really 3 very different plants in a way. The color guard Adam Needle yucca, and then the brake lights yucca. So I'm using the same form, but just very different colors to kind of give some pop and contrast to. There was nothing minimalist about this house. It was like contemporary maximalism, and really kind of had a lot of fun with that. One of the plants that I loved using in that corner was this spectacular cast iron plant. Have y'all used this yet? I mean,
that's the one with the like white speckles, right?
Mm-hmm. It is
so
I
cool.
just
awesome. It's
love
so much
it.
better than Milky Way, because Milky Way is kind of small, but that spectacular, it's actually a much taller, like full-size cast iron
Does
plant.
it grow any faster? Like, I always find they are so resilient. Like, you have them for years, but the first years are a little bit like,
Yeah, they are like in the Atlanta area, they do grow a little bit slower. Down here, they grow like weeds. I mean, they grow year round down here. But they are a little bit slower growing, much faster than Milky Way and Tiny Tank, but
okay, that's
it's
cool.
a moderate grower.
Yeah,
The
I
old
love it.
school, the old school, not variegated ones grow like weeds, but I've never tried any of the like cool new
See,
varieties.
for me in North Carolina, I wouldn't say weeds here either. Like, they're off to a slow start, and like once they're established, they're awesome, but
Yeah.
Something
Yeah,
so
mine
Well,
cool.
actually, my spectaculars last winter when it got down to 19 got burned down to the ground totally. It was so cold.
Whoa,
But they came back. They're beautiful this year. So
that's
Yeah.
great.
All right. Where are you taking to us next in the house?
come with
Yeah.
me to the
I'm
backyard
just
and
like so amazed by this like cat. Like it looks so over my head. I'm always like, wow, how
Yeah,
do
this
you
is so cool.
read this? Like it's so cool.
it takes a minute. It takes a minute to figure it out, but you're basically just putting your imagination on paper or digital paper. Um, so this is what we came up with. We came up with the idea of the pool, a little fountain. You wrap these stairs around. And I know it's a little tough to all see all these things. So it was really tough for even the client to see all these different grade changes and how the planting bed. So we got a planting bed there, planting bed here, planting bed here. How all these things would kind of sync together. So here's what do we do is we do a little video.
That
And
is
let's see if
so
I can.
cool.
So you can begin to kind of see how uh, I throw in a few plants. Not every plant is going to be represented here, but
That's amazing.
I
but
that's
love
it's
really
this.
cool.
Like this makes even sense to me. And I have like no spatial vision
Yeah,
whatsoever.
exactly.
Like somebody shows me a plan, I'm like, I don't see it. But trust you. But this is amazing.
and so
I
this is
love
the
the house too. Like I just gotta make this
It's
little comment. Like
beautiful.
this
Yes.
is a gorgeous house. Oh, look at that. How cool. So did you already actually like plant everything or wow,
It's
cool.
done, done.
Done,
it's
Do
done.
you
done.
want do we get to see?
Yeah,
No
I'm gonna
more,
show you all
no
the big
more.
reveal here. So every obviously the 3D model is just there to be kind of like a tool so that everybody can understand what this means, right? And even from the 3D model, we changed a few things, but here are and I just posted all these pictures to LinkedIn. So,
Wow.
but that is
That's a cool shot.
Where
the
did you ever
backyard
see
at
that
night,
many stars in Atlanta?
I know.
right? Um, so I'll get down in the weeds with those sort of planting things, but you can see really wanted to create this kind of a lead coming out the back door, a lot of little planting, little strips, keeping everything very linear because the house was so linear. This is one of those times where you kind of like, okay, it's okay to have something in a straight line. I don't need to kind of fuss with it too much because it was so contemporary. Um, I wasn't a huge fan of adding a lot of cabbage palms and stuff like that, but this was their request. And, I think it turned out good. I think having it the height that you can see down it was actually really kind of interesting. And it
Hmm.
provides a level of interest when you're kind of in that space because it almost feels like a saw palmetto when it's on ground level with you. So you don't necessarily
Yeah.
see the shaggy bark all the time. Of course, it's going to grow up, but a lot of different high contrast plants. So you got your Everillo, there's some Laura Petalum in here and Pink Muley, a lot of different things, a lot of different grasses here. That's the Equisetum, horsetail reed grass, right there. And that will get really tall. The idea was that it would be a curtain because this wall was so tall right here and just have like a curtain of Equisetum kind of coming across. So like when it just gets installed, you're like, man, it needs to grow up. It's not what I envisioned it yet, and that's like the play about being a landscape designer, right? Is like you got to design it for a period of time. You can't design it for one moment. Although this needs to be sold to a client, so it had to be pretty good day one. So here's where those steps, that was like the marquee, those steps coming off, and then you can start to see some of the different materials that we used, a lot of different liriopes, keeping everything pretty low because some of these windows were so low. Like you couldn't have something that was going to outgrow
Block
the
that.
window.
Yeah.
Oh
So what did
So
yeah.
you plant under that low window? Is that Laura
uh,
Petalum?
No, it's a lot of it is well, this is the cast iron here.
Oh, cool.
So the
Yeah.
cast iron is there, and a lot of these are the brake light yuccas and
Mm.
color guard yuccas, and then the mondo grass, the silver,
The
the
Robbie.
liriope, and then the ogons.
I love the outdoor lighting too on the steps and from the ceiling. Like it just
Ooh, look at those
look at those
pots.
I love those
pots.
orange pots in that little
I
sphere. That
love
looks awesome.
that.
So this was the homeowner, the builder's sort of take on it, and I love it. I think she nailed it. And so I went ahead and specced like that really dark blue stone, really dark. It's a Tennessee fieldstone gray
It's
and
pretty.
regular cut. And then she came in, and then I did the plants for that, and then she did that color, and it just sang. So sometimes you got to think about it from a design perspective. Is like you're setting the stage. Like we thought through a lot of uh, different materials for the floor, and everyone was getting more and more flashy. And then we just had to like, you know what? Why don't we let the pot be the flash? Like
Yeah.
let's let's let everything be gray so that we can center the one color pop in one place. Um, and then it's really the play off this chartreuse, which is the creeping Jenny in the orange, and it just sang. I think it did really
Yeah,
well.
that's gorgeous.
It looks awesome.
Also, the planters you can like switch out when you want a different color or you want to mix it up. Like that gives the
Hmm.
homeowner, right? You've like
Hmm.
created that canvas to where they can play later too. Oh, I love those
Yeah,
spheres there too, and the lighting on the steps.
spheres did really well. The lighting looks fantastic at night.
That's so cool.
The yuccas I think really are going to do well. And then the cast iron and that little papa chartreuse, everything really kind of felt good.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that like most of the beds are in like almost like raised boxes, so it's almost like you
Yeah.
work pots into the design without having to get pots. I like it. It looks awesome.
It's super cool. So, Mario, just like out of curiosity, but like, how much do you work then with a client on like who is going to maintain this and how to maintain this? And like, do you know ahead of time that they might have help, professional help, or does that
Yeah.
change your plant list if you know somebody
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, you're always thinking about what is the capability and capacity of the team that's going to be taking over, whether that's the homeowner or a true maintenance team. And usually I like to have a conversation about what's the difference between management and maintenance at some
Yeah,
point, because a lot of times they think management is maintenance and maintenance is management. And one of the key differences is that maintenance is a piece of the management,
Hmm.
right? It's just one little component, and maybe that's a time for another episode to kind of go through just what are the maintenance and management things about a garden and garden space. I think we can plant nerd on that all day, so we can kind of give its own space. But
Yeah.
big picture, the installer was signed up to be the maintenance on this one, so that was really great. So
yeah,
they were very familiar with the plant material going in. Some of the plant material that I spec they weren't familiar with, so it's kind of a conversation of, okay, what do I do with it? How do I treat this? And with like yucca and stuff like that, it's like you don't have to do anything, really. It's like, no, not much.
Yeah.
You just have to look out for X, Y, and Z. And I think that grows the industry. It grows other professionals when we can kind of work together, collaborate, do something new, share knowledge, and grow something beautiful and resilient.
Also, do you get visitation rights to these gardens? Like, can you
It's
check in like 2 years from now?
that's the painful thing about doing private projects. But I'll tell you, it's also the beautiful thing because the homeowners, the people that are, when they love a landscape, they always want to show you how it's growing because they become
yeah.
so invested.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, yeah. And so I would love to give a tour of this. So maybe one day we can do kind of this summer. I can go get permission and do a
That
on
would be
location
so
tour.
cool.
So, how long did it take you from like the first time they called you and said, "Hey, I need your help," to like now it is done? Like, what is a time span?
Probably about April to August.
Okay, it's not bad.
Now, a lot of times they're able to go ahead and work concurrently, because the design process, concept to final details. After you get that concept done, then you can start reaching out to your different contractors, and so there's a lot of little things that the construction process can just start doing while I'm in the design process. But I would say over construction, they probably took them 3 months.
That's amazing.
3 months to all the
That's
landscape
great.
components. The pool took about 3 months on its own prior to that. So it's a 6 month construction
Sure.
of all the hardscape and then the landscape, because there was a lot of steel walls in there, as Devin sort of noticed. A lot of little cheeky, I call them little cheek walls, little cheeky walls that add just a little bit of texture and get some plants elevated and bring down the house so high. It almost looked like a hotel. So bring down that height a little bit and make sure the plants kind of integrate with the building to kind of bring it back to earth kind of
And I
feel.
like that you used different materials. They weren't all the same. I liked
Yeah.
the different materials in different spots. It gives it a
Sure.
totally different feel.
Makes it probably also easier to like also play around with different colors and shapes of the plants if you don't, you know, to offset that.
One other thing I always find with design is that if you have too many plants, it can feel busy. But if you do a lot of plants, you maybe three plants have similar color and texture, or maybe have similar texture. They have some strong common denominators, if you will, like some common traits, but might spin off a different color here or there, a different bloom. I think that feels really good.
That is
That's awesome.
something I have lived by in design is repetition throughout the whole entire yard. It just helps when you have like groupings. Like my favorite plant that I go to is Goshiki False Holly. It's a great
I
pop of
love it.
color. Love that plant. Just a little bit like three of them here, three of them there, five of them over here. It just, when you're looking at a landscape, it helps carry the eye along. So I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan of that.
Um, I have to show you a Gosiki arrangement with Murray cypress. And just playing with two plants. Uh, I think there's like there's complementary colors. I think there's complementary plants to your eye and texture. It's deeper than just a color. It's texture and habit and shape and all these things. So that's the fun thing about design. It's such an exploration. There's so many ways to slice it.